Welcome, students of grade 11 arts. I'm your Sir Henny from the Department of History. Today we will discuss the second chapter of your history, chapter 2, Writing and City Life. Chapter 1 had been omitted this year by the CBSE. That is why we are going to begin with chapter 2. The name of the chapter is Writing and City Life. Okay, first of all, history is divided into two periods. The first one is known as prehistory, and the second part of the history is known as historical period. Period before the art of writing is known as prehistory. The period after the art of writing is known as historical period, and we have written record in the historical period. So this chapter 2 comes under which period? Okay, writing and city life. Writing, here in this chapter we are going to talk about writing. So the second chapters fall under historical period. It was believed that writing first started in the city. Why so? Because city life involved a lot of dealings and transactions. So it became impossible for the people to remember everything. So the society felt the need of keeping the record of all this happening. That is why it was believed that writing first started in the city. What is the connection between writing and city life here? That is why the writing first started in the city. That is why the writing, the topic, the writing and city life. The topic of the second chapter, we got it as writing and city life, because they are very closely connected. Now, we will try to find out where was the first city developed, because it was here in this first city the writing was first developed. Can you guess where the first city of the world developed? Where? The first city of the world was developed in Mesopotamia. Have you heard Mesopotamia earlier? Okay. Mesopotamia is in present day part of Iraq. The word Mesopotamia had been derived from the Greek word. The word meso had been derived from the Greek word meaning middle. Potamia meaning river. That is the lane between two rivers. The two rivers are river Euphrates and river Tigris. So two rivers flowed down to the south of Mesopotamia. So the land here in between the two rivers was once known as Mesopotamia. In the beginning of the recorded history, the southern part of Mesopotamia was known by different names, Sumer and Akkad. But by 2000 BCE, another city called Babylon became very popular and very important city. So the whole southern portion of Mesopotamia came to be known as Babylonia. Then in the north of Mesopotamia. By 1100 BCE, the Assyrian established their kingdom. So the whole northern portion of Mesopotamia came to be known as Assyria. So the southern portion of Mesopotamia was known as Babylonia, and the northern portion of Mesopotamia was known as Assyria. The oldest language spoken here in Mesopotamia was that of Sumerian. But by 2400 BCE, the Akkadian-speaking people arrived in Mesopotamia. And this Akkadian language was spoken for a very, very long time, till the time of Alexander. Then by 1400 BCE, another language called Aramaic trickled in Mesopotamia. This Aramaic is quite similar to Hebrew, and it was spoken widely after 1000 BCE. And it is said that some of the people even now speak Aramaic in some parts of Iraq. Mesopotamia was regarded very, very, very important for the European. Why? Because Mesopotamia was found, mentioned in the Old Testament part of the Bible. In the first book, Genesis of the Old Testament, had mentioned about a place named called Sumer for Sumer, for as a brick-built city. The European regards Mesopotamia as their ancestral land. That is why Mesopotamia was regarded as very important for the Europeans. Now, sources. The historian had depended on various sources to understand the history of Mesopotamia. So some of the important sources to understand the history of Mesopotamia includes buildings, statues, tools, grave, ornaments, seals, and of course written documents. So these were some of the important sources of information about Mesopotamian history. Now we will discuss about Mesopotamia and its geography. Mesopotamia had a diverse environment. Now we will see some of the diverse environment of Mesopotamia. First of all, let us go to the northeastern part of Mesopotamia. In the northeastern part of Mesopotamia lies a green undulating plain with tree-covered mountain ranges with clear streams and wildflowers. This northeastern region of Mesopotamia received enough rainfall to grow crops. It was believed that way back to 7,000 to 6,000 BC, agriculture had already practiced here in northeastern part of Mesopotamia. Then, now let us move up to the north. In the northern part of Mesopotamia, there is a stretch of upland called steppes. What do you mean by steppes? Steppes means grassland. Here, the main occupation of the people living in the northern Mesopotamia was animal rearing or herding, because animal herding provide better means of livelihood than agriculture due to the presence of steppes. Now let us move to the eastern part of Mesopotamia. In the eastern part of Mesopotamia, the tributaries of river Euphrates and Tigris provide an efficient means of transport and communication to the mountain of Iran. Now, after that, let us move down to the south of Mesopotamia. In the southern Mesopotamia, we find another very different landform. In the south part of Mesopotamia, we find a desert. So that is why we say that the Mesopotamia has a diverse environment, and very surprising that it was here in the desert that the first city in the world developed. We all know the climate in the desert is very extreme, very hot, very cold, right? But why people have chosen their settlement here in desert? Do you know why people have chosen their settlement in the desert? Okay. The two rivers, the river Euphrates and river Tigris, that rises from the upland mountain, bring down fine particles of soil known as silt and deposit in the southern part of Mesopotamia, making the land very, very fertile to grow crops. So the people here in the south of Mesopotamia practice agriculture, and economically the people were very, very prosperous here. That is why we see the first city and the first form of writing started here in the southern part of Mesopotamia. Now let us go to a new topic, the significance of urbanism. The urban centers involved a variety of economic activities like food production, manufactures, trade, services, and so on. The people in the urban areas depend on one another for their survival. For example, a stone carver requires stone and tools, which he cannot make himself, or where to get the stones. So he depends on the other people to get for him. So that is why the people living in the city depend on one another. As a result, division of labor came into being. This division of labor is a mark of urban life. Next, we will talk about a new topic, movement of goods into cities. We all know that the Mesopotamia was very rich in food resources, but they lacked in mineral resources like stone, woods, and metals. It was believed that they exchanged the mineral resources with food. Goods were ferried from one place to another by both land routes as well as riverine routes. Carts were used in transporting goods on land. They also used boat propelled by the current of the river water to transport goods. Next, we have the development of writing, the most important point. I told you that the writing first started in the city, and we have already known that the first city developed in Mesopotamia. So writing first developed in Mesopotamia. The scribes, the writers, they write on paper, stone. Okay. At the time, they have no knowledge about the use of paper. So they write on clay, wet clay tablet. They will mold, they will make a wet clay, pat it into a size comfortable to hold with one hand. So they write on the wet clay before it gets dried. And after writing, what they do is that they expose it in the sunlight to make it hard so that they can keep for a longer period of time. The first Mesopotamian tablets were written way back around 3200 BCE. And this tablet contained signs, symbols, and numbers, pictures of oxen, fish, loaves, bread. So this type of writing is known as pictography. Writing in a series of picture, pictography. So the earliest form of writing is known as pictography. The Mesopotamian wrote on clay tablet by using what? By using the stem of the reed plant. They will cut it, the stem of the reed plant, and use it as writing material, reed plant. But by 2600 BCE, letter became cuneiform. The word cuneiform had been derived from the Greek word cuni, from the word cuneus, meaning wedge. Form, from the word forma, meaning shape. Wedge shape, cuneiform. See, every society has language. A certain sound that we produced from our mouth conveys meaning. So this is called verbal communication. So writing is a verbal communication or not? Yes, writing is also another form of verbal communication. Because by writing, when we read, we get the meaning. We write a letter. So the receiver of the letter, when he read the letter, he understands what is written there. So writing is also a form of verbal communication. The cuneiform does not stand for a consonant or a vowel like we do A, B, C, D, E, F, but a syllable like put, sit, stand, slip. That means one symbol stands for the whole word, a syllable. So now we have understood that writing first developed in Mesopotamia. And the earliest form of writing was known as pictography. Later, it was replaced with cuneiform system of writing. Thank you.